and welcome to this glorious venue as the swimming competition continues at the Tokyo 2020 Paralympic Games. It is day 6 of the swimming competition and off to session 11. We are officially beyond the halfway mark of the swimming competition. 71 gold medals events have been contested. 75 need to be contested before the end of the aquatics events here at Tokyo 2020. The officials make their way into the venue, the Tokyo Aquatics Center. What a wonderful venue it is, purpose-built. There is plenty in store for you to enjoy this morning, including the likes of Didier of France going in among one of the earlier events. But we've also got Iarboki potentially in the SM13 individual medley. He should be one to watch for the early stages of this event. We have a host of champions already. The likes of Simone Barlam gets an opportunity to swim yet again today. Sophie Pascoe goes in the pool on day 6 of competition. The swimming competition gets underway with the heats of the men's 100-meter backstroke S7. But looking at the daily schedule, a few events that would stand out for you, I imagine.
Yeah, I'd say the ones to watch, 100 backstroke for the men and the women in the S9. Definitely Didier is one to watch, but also Simone Barlam. He dominated the 50-meter freestyle already, and Didier and Barlam will go up against world record holder Moscovoy. Also the women's S900 backstroke, Sophie Pascoe, Ellie Cole, Marquez Soto. That's a pretty stacked field. And of course, the women's 50 fly S6, Ellie Robinson, Elizabeth Marks, and world record holder Zhang Yuyan. I'm pretty excited for all three.
I can tell. Taking a look at the record holders from men's 100-meter backstroke S7, Jonathan Fox, Paralympic record from 2012. But Bogdan Ernenko, world record holder. Going in the first event, the start list, Mark Maljar, already a gold medalist at these games after his incredible performances in both the men's 200 individual medley and the men's 400-meter freestyle. The men's and women's starters and referee being introduced. So for Australia, it's a chance for further medals in the afternoon session into the evening's final session. Local time, it's morning session and afternoon into evening. Flag of South Africa. Ty Slattery, a multiple breaststroke Paralympic Games medalists. It's on the left, on the top of your screen, behind the South African flag. And he's now coaching, and he'll be watching Christian Sadi in action, who's first up in the men's 100 backstroke S7. Only a 4-team delegation for South Africa for these games. So to the first event. This is the men's 100 backstroke S7, and that is Evgeny Bordaiko. Ukraine goes in lane 3 for the swim. Mark Maljar will be going with 2 gold medals to his name. Bordaiko undoubtedly one to watch, but has not been going his fastest over the past year. Maybe of concern. Fastest in the pool in this field is Andrei Gladkov, representing RPC. That's Mark Maljar. Gold in the 200 IM, gold in the 400 free. Plunging into the pool ahead of the start of the men's 100-meter backstroke S7. There are 4 swimmers: Sadi Scratch, Chen, Bogodaiko, Gladkov, and Malyar. Really good start from Malyar. Gets up nice and high and pulls himself back into the water, but into the stroke. Gladkov looks really good, but everybody right now is going to be chasing this man, Bogodaiko. Great underwater, wonderful leg power, and 25 meters in, he's already pulling clear.
He is. I mean, no surprise that Bogodaiko, he got out way first, but Gladkov, I do think, is the one to watch in this race. This is his event, and already you see him starting to come up on Bogodaiko.
Man who's been a world champion as far back as 2015, the 24-year-old Gladkov turns nicely, and watch the underwater of Bogodaiko. That's one area where he could really gain some advantage, but in the stroke, when Gladkov is in it, he looks strongest and almost imperious.
Yeah, I mean, Gladkov definitely has the advantage coming home. He's got the use of both of his arms as he comes into the last 25 meters, and you start to see him pull away. You know, you wonder how easy he's going during this preliminary or whether or not he's expending everything. I do think it's going to be a good race between him and Carlo Magno tonight during the finals.
It is going to be a very comfortable victory for Gladkov here. He touches first ahead of Malyar, with Bogodaiko third quickest overall. Chen Liangda of Chinese Taipei coming home with 1:18.28. So Gladkov ahead of Bogodaiko. Andrei Gladkov has never won Paralympic Games gold. This might be his chance. He's entered fewer events in the hopes of quality over quantity.
Yeah, and Bogodaiko, as expected, he did go out very fast here because he's able to use his legs for this underwater, and Gladkov, he can't match that underwater speed. But where Gladkov really shines is during the actual stroke and during the race itself. And he just took control of it after that first 25 meters, even though he was not able to beat Bogodaiko off the walls. And you're right, Bogodaiko, he's not on his times, and that is definitely affecting his ultimate places.
Confirming Gladkov ahead of Malyar, with Bogodaiko third in the first heat of 2. Heat 2 of the men's 100-meter backstroke S7. 3 Argentines going, but Pipo Carlomagno is the Argentine to watch. The man who has been posting the fastest times in the world this year. Andrei Trusov, though, is in good form, really good form for Ukraine. He'll go in 5, and he's swum 1:09 already this year. Coming down to lane 7, that's Ernie Gavilan, the man from Philippines, who's already created all sorts of records for Philippines and for Southeast Asia in the process. Bicelli, Federico Bicelli, he's outside some of his best times, but he's capable of producing an upset here. He finished outside the medals in the men's 400 free, which was one of his 4 individual events. Borgi with that heavily tattooed left arm. Borgi, Bicelli, Carlomagno, Trusov, Bashilov, and Gavilan. It's a good start from Trusov. He's generally very good with his starts. And he goes, but looking to get into his stroke straight away is Carlomagno, and Carlomagno looks very comfortable.
He does, but Trusov is not making it easy for him during this preliminary. Although I'd say Trusov is a little bit too close to the lane line. He actually seems to be a bit getting tangled in it too much, and that's allowing Carlomagno to really start to pull ahead. Now, as they go into this turn, Carlo Magno, he's got the turn, but you can see most of these swimmers, they're not effectively really able to use the underwater so much. They have use of their arms and trunk, but they do have some limited leg function. There's, of course, other swimmers in this category as well, but that is what you see happening right now in the middle of the pool.
And Carlo Magno looking to get away from Trusov here. Trusov, who's aimed for gold in 3 events and finished with 2 silvers so far in the 400 free and in the 200 IM, but he's coming in a decent time here as well. Paralympic record might form, maybe even the world record. Carlo Magno comes to the wall in Paralympic record time ahead of Trusov. Third, it's going to be Bicelli in lane 3. So 109.12, that's a good swim for the preliminaries. That's the fastest time that he's gone this year as well, 109.12. So getting a good swim under the belt early on. Maybe an indication of where he is in his swimming right now for Trusov and for Bicelli. Second and third quickest. Carlo Magno with a little pat on the back of Trusov. Andrei Trusov finishing second behind that Paralympic record performance, a 109.12. But a 110.20 for Trusov. And he will have a little something extra.
Yeah, and that Paralympic record set by Jonathan Fox has really stood for a long time, since 2012, so it's good that Carlo Magno broke it. And here you can see Carlo Magno, he was already out at the 50. He's not really able to use the walls particularly effectively, but where he makes his move and where he's so strong is in the stroke. And one thing you can say about this 100-meter backstroke in this classification, it's really anyone's race tonight. You're going to see Carlo Magno go up against Vladkov. Trusov could again be a medal threat.
Confirming who finished where in the second heat, while the second and third Argentines in the field finished 4th and 5th, just ahead of Gavilan of Philippines. It is Pipo Carlo Magno who finishes top. He will qualify quickest in Paralympic record time. Carlo Magno and Trusov up against Andrei Gladkov, Mark Malyer, Bicelli, maybe an outside chance. Even Bogodajko, if he swims to his potential, if he's at his best, Bogodajko is right up there for a challenge of medals. Argentina have 3 in the final. The men's 100-meter backstroke. This 9 classification sees a host of swimmers who are all medal contenders going here. And you've got some big names, particularly from Paralympic Games of past. Bogdan Mozgovoi, world record that he set earlier this year at Funchal at the European Championships. He will go in the second heat of 2. But going in the first heat, Simone Barlam will be the swimmer to watch. Timothy Hodge and Brendan Hall of Australia, Jesse Reynolds of New Zealand as well going in 3. Braunschweig, Reynolds, Barlam, Hodge, Hall, Chuli. Just some great underwaters, particularly from Barlam. Watch how he comes up. Breaking water though, last is Chuli. Straight into his stroke, and already Barlam and Hodge are looking to pull away. Not the best of starts from New Zealand's Jesse Reynolds, but he's getting into his stroke now and pulling up a little on Barlam. But Barlam is a man who's got genuine quality in the pool, and he continues to prove it, especially after his gold in the men's 50 free.
Yeah, but don't count out Tim Hodge from Australia. He's hanging right with Barlam. Barlam, he's got the better underwater, and he pops up just slightly ahead of Hodge. But Hodge, he did appear to be going stroke for stroke and actually pulling up on him. Barlam does have the longer wingspan, though, here.
And Jesse Reynolds, who has to mix training with his day job as a mechanic, the Hamilton-based New Zealander, 7th in Rio, 6th at the World Championships and 4th of the Commonwealth Games in 2018, is making up some ground on Barlam now and might touch for second. But Hodge is pulling away. World Championship bronze medalist is staying brilliantly with strength, goes to the wall to touch first. A 102.81. with Barlam coming second and Jesse Reynolds just behind him, both swimming 104s. Had a good swim from Hodge. So 102.81, it's a fast time to be posting in the preliminaries. He'll be happy with that swim.
Hodge, he got off the block nicely. Barlam had the better underwater here. You can see Hodge pop up a little bit earlier. But what I would say going in, I mean, Barlam, he took it out quickly, but Hodge, he had a great turn, not a great underwater, but what he did was he popped up fast and went right into his stroke. And then once he got moving, he built, I would say, his second 50 where he just builded it the whole time and came in. He went 102.81. That's a great time for him. Barlam maybe went a little bit too slow. He probably would have wished he was in one of those center lanes, but he's definitely not going to be in lane 4 for finals.
So, Hodge. Very solid swim. Went out in a measured pace, but came home strong. A 102.81 for the Australian from Auburn Swimming Club. Now to the second heat we go. And this is an opportunity to enjoy a battle between Bogdan Mozgovoy, the world record holder, and indeed the young man from France, Hugo Didier, who has come to prominence in recent years. There's Didier. Swing for Belarus as well is Shalkanau.
Not possible. He wants to put it deeper. We cannot.
So a little bit of a concern at the start here is regarding the length of the rope that just fits to the starters blocks and keeps the swimmers at the wall. He's asking for the ladder to be a little deeper. It does not go deeper, it seems. So the officials have been called. And for Bogdan Mozgovoy, this is not the kind of start you would like. I would imagine you don't want too many things playing on your mind. But for the other swimmers, the likes of Barry McClements of Ireland going in lane 7 and Andre Pereira Garbit going for Brazil in lane 6. Jendi Pangaben goes for Indonesia in lane 2. His only event is Pangaben, but watch out for the 2 center lanes. Mozgovoy, the world record holder from RPC, and France's Hugo Didier. Into the pool and straight down the center. Didier broke water relatively early compared to Mozgovoy, who got off to a decent start despite the troubles he might have had with the rope. Shalkanau of Belarus is going strong in lane 2 as well as Jendi Pangabin looks to start fading as they approach the opening 50.
Right now, heading into the 50, Mozgovoy, he's actually in second right now, but here he comes with his underwater. I would not count him out, though, just yet. He's a great finisher, and an even better finisher is Didier. So you see him, he's really trailing in third at this point, but he's going to be very strong the last 25 meters.
Yeah, he's got lovely technique as well, and he's got brilliant shoulder rotation, Hugo Didier. As Mozgovoy is looking to fight back, but Shalkanau is showing some real grit to try to keep the world record holder at bay. And he's going to come in a relatively quick time as well, a 102.42. Shalkanau touches ahead of Mozgovoy with Hugo Didier third. But what this means in the grander scheme of things is that we've potentially got 6 really fancied swimmers who will be going for 3 medals in the final. Yahor Shalkanau of Belarus puts himself into medal contention. Mozgovoy knows he can go quicker.
And you see them coming off the block. And it's really, the swimmers, they use their underwater so differently. And you can see heading into the turn, it was Shalkanau who really, he went out early and he appeared to keep it. And Mozgovoy was just not quite able to catch him. Although this was the preliminary swim, so you do have to wonder with Moscovoy and Didier, how much, you know, do they have left for tonight? How much did they expend during this preliminary swim? They both 102, 103, a bit off their best. So you know they definitely didn't go all out this morning.
So Schalkenau ahead of Moscovoy. Didier McClements with a 106 should just make it into the final, which means Pangamin will be out. Didier against Barlam among the battles for you to enjoy, but Schalkenau against Moscovoy. Hodge is very much in the mix for Australia. New Zealand's Jesse Reynolds and Brendan Hall of Australia also make it through to the last 8. The first heat of 2 in the women's 100-meter backstroke S9. And this is among those events in which you will undoubtedly know a few more of the competitors, and you called this a stacked event, and it is undoubtedly, with the likes of across the heats. Ribeiro, Marcus, Ellie Cole, Sophie Pascoe, Hannah Aspden, Elizabeth Smith, Marcus Soto and Ellie Cole. Battle to come between those two, silver and gold at the Rio Games in 2016. As we get underway in the women's 100-meter backstroke S9, this is the first. Sofia Konkoli of Hungary going out really hard, which is something we've become accustomed to seeing. Ellie Cole, the 2015 world champion, 6-time gold medalist. He is going to bring her swimming career to a close here at Tokyo 2020, and she'll want it to go out on a high, undoubtedly. But Marcus Soto, the 2017 world champion and silver medalist of 2016, it is Marcus of Spain who touches at the wall first.
Yeah, Marquez Soto, I mean, this is her event. She looks great here. The battle between Ellie Cole and Marquez Soto, though, it's like one can't shake the other. We saw them in Rio where Ellie Cole led for 399 meters in the 400 freestyle. And now, you know, this really is Ellie Cole's event, so I do expect her to be a lot faster tonight. Right now, all she's doing is just trying to get herself in one of those middle lanes for tonight's final.
And she knows she's going to have a really big battle against the likes of Sophie Pascoe, who's been reclassified to an S9, but now touching in a 1:10.45. Comfortable for Nuria Marcus Soto, while Ellie Cole of Australia goes 1:13.5. And Sofia Konkoli of Hungary, 1:14.84.
Coming off the start, Ellie Cole actually had a very powerful underwater kick. Her stroke rate wasn't that high during this morning's swim, which is not surprising. Marquez Soto, though, she really went out for it. She went out early and she kept that lead and actually extended it during the second 50. You can see her head position very straight, clean water entry, which is great to minimize drag. And here she is just coming in, very good, solid finish. 1:10.45, it's a decent swim for her for preliminaries. She's obviously going to be looking to go much quicker during the final.
Marcus Soto ahead of Cole, with Konkoli, silver medalist in the 400 free, claiming the 3rd spot. This is the second heat of 2 in the women's 100-meter backstroke S9. And this is where Sophie Pascoe really will be wanting to step up. The New Zealander reclassified from the S10 to S9, and she in the S10 classification ended up claiming golds in both 2008 in Beijing and indeed in Rio 5 years ago. Silver medalist in 2012, Sophie Pascoe, but she's going up against Lizzie Smith of USA, going in 3. So Watts, Smith, Pascoe, Aspden, Mulwood. Steph Mulwood of Great Britain going in 6. Hannah Aspden is a fine backstroker as well. Look at the start that Lizzie Smith has got off to. That's a fantastic underwater from her, but being caught by Sophie Pascoe already in the stroke.
Yeah, I mean, Lizzie Smith, like you said, great underwater on her end. You can see, you know, She wanted to go out in this preliminaries and maybe challenge Sophie Pascoe, but it's going to be very hard to keep her off. The other one who's looking great here is Hannah Aspden from the United States, also swimming well.
So Sophie Pascoe not going to touch first, just behind Aspden here, but Sophie Pascoe, this is an event that she is not unaccustomed to winning, and she will just want to have a central lane, I imagine, for the final. Somebody who had a grand story to tell, Sophie Pascoe, but that's Hannah Aspden going along strongly. Sophie Pascoe, in New Zealand, she was advised to find somebody to go into isolation with, and she called a friend called Rob. Now they're in love, and it's just a romance that has blossomed, a wonderful story from the COVID-19 lockdown, but she'll touch second behind Aspden here, who comes in for the win in 109.83 in this heat. So Aspden will have the best lane for the final. But Sophie Pascoe, do not discount Pascoe. Touches second fastest overall behind the American.
And here's Sophie Pascoe off the start. She's just such a well-trained swimmer. You saw that start. You saw how effectively she uses her underwater as she comes up in that first 50. But the one to watch, actually, during this preliminary swim was Hannah Aspden. You know, she took it out well. She hung with Sophie Pascoe. And it's in the second 50 where she really made her move. She was slightly ahead of Pascoe at the wall, but then when she comes into her stroke, she really pulled ahead during that second 50. And she went 109.83, which is she's right on her time. So it was a solid morning swim on her end. I do think, though, that Sophie Pascoe, who, you know, her sea time's about 4 seconds faster than what she went during this preliminary swim, she's going to be very hard to beat.
Well, she's used to cleaning up in the S10 classification. She'll be swinging S9 for the women's 100 backstroke. It's Aspden ahead of Pascoe, with Watts of Sweden finishing third. So Aspden ahead of Marcus Soto. It'll be those two swimmers in lanes 4 and 5. Pascoe will be going alongside Ellie Cole just outside them. Watts, Smith, Conkley and Millward. So to the men's 200-meter freestyle S4 heats. First of two, Roman Zhdanov back in the pool. A couple of Mexican swimmers in Gustavo Sanchez and Angel de Jesus Camacho. Sanchez was a gold medalist in 2012. Paralympic record, though, stands from 2008. It showed a Reeves record, 2:55.81. But Amiomar Dadouan, who will be going in heat 2, the world record holder, who'll be looking to break that. That's Luigi Beggiato, Italian, who goes in 3 for this heat. Yes, Camacho, the 2012 champion. And just acknowledging the solitary call. Fellow swimmers gathered around. And with the absence of fans, there's a chance for fellow swimmers to add much needed support for the swimmers on the blocks. Anofa, Emilianov, Beggiato, Zhdanov, Sanchez, Camacho, Braisa of Croatia goes in 7. So Beggiato among those starting in the water. He gets straight into his stroke and he's got a very comfortable stroke about him. But watch Roman Zhdanov. He's already a champion twice at these games, the 150 IM and the 50 breaststroke gold medals, and a quality all-round swimmer, trying to go in this 200-meter freestyle and add to his gold medal tally.
Yeah, and Zhdanov already looking very smooth, very calm. For this classification, the S4, the 200 freestyle is their distance event. It's the longest event that they have. And because these swimmers mainly can't use their legs, that means they're going to keep it controlled, and the splits are going to be very even throughout.
At the turn, it is Zhdanov, though, who touches third behind Beggiato and Sanchez. But straight into the stroke again. Zhdanov Looks like he's closing just a little on Bigiato. Still hanging on is Sanchez in 6th for Mexico, with Camacho just ahead of him.
And these swimmers are all very tightly packed together as we head into the second 25, or the last 25 meters of the first 100. So it's really the third 50 of the 200 where you'll see folks start to make their move and start to really take the lead. But right now, Bigiato looks very strong as he's inching a bit away from the field, though definitely do not count out Zhdanov.
So Bigiato is going to be turning at the 100 mark, 1:30.31 seconds, so well off world record pace here. But for now, the 16-year-old ambitious Mexican swimmer from Leon is not giving up too much either, Camacho of Ramirez.
You know, we were talking about the start and how the absence of fans, you know, certainly they're missed. But one thing, when you're on the starting blocks, sometimes the fans can be distracting. And if they're making too much noise, sometimes you actually have to reposition yourself on the blocks, which the swimmers hate. You know, when you're standing behind the blocks, you just want to get in the water and you want to start racing. And even just the slightest disruption, sometimes for certain swimmers, it can throw you off a bit. So that is one, you know, positive that you get from not having that noise.
Bigiato touches at the 150 mark ahead at 2:17.69, but he looks to be pulling away here. Take your pick between Zhdanov, Sanchez and Camacho. It's at the moment Camacho, he's the youngster, he's the young talent from Leon who's looking to show his ability as a freestyler here. He's also entered into only a handful of events. He missed out on the medal by 1 in the men's 100 freestyle final, finishing 4th overall. And maybe for him, this is his chance for an element of redemption, but he's trying to push up now and see if he can go beyond Bigiato in the pool, and it looks like he's got that. But at the wall, it's going to be who can reach. Looking to go on the stroke, it'll be Camacho ahead of Bigiato, with Zhdanov 3rd fastest overall. Outside the top 3 is Sanchez, who touches just behind. So not much separating the first 4. So Bigiato, the victory is Ernhofer of Austria touches now. Bigiato did a lot right, but that was a very impressive swim from the 16-year-old.
Yeah, it was. I mean, Camacho, you see him get off the blocks a bit, and he's able to use his underwater a little bit, well, more effectively than the other swimmers. And he went out, and what he did was he hung with Bigiato and Zhdanov during that first 100, and then he had enough in the tank. Camacho, he took about 5 seconds off of his seed time, so he had a huge swim for the preliminaries on his end. Bigiato, he also went fairly close to his seed time. It was Zhdanov who, you know, had, he actually surprised me during this morning swim. I would have thought that he would have wanted to go out ahead and been more powerful, and he was certainly in the top, and he, you know, has a place for finals, but I wouldn't have thought that he wanted the other 2 swimmers in that heat to beat him, but we'll see what he has for tonight.
So Zhdanov a long way off his seed time and a long way off his personal best. Zhdanov touches 3rd. Bigiato of Italy 2nd, but a good strong finish from Camacho means he has the quickest time in the first heat. Second heat of 2 for the men's 200-meter freestyle S4. And the world record holder Ami Omer Dadon goes in lane 4 up against a home hopeful in Suzuki Takayuki, a man who's already taken gold in the 100 free. So he wants the freestyle double. Smetanin of France, going back some years to when he won the 50 and 100 free double in Beijing. 13 years on, at the age of 46, he will go for another chance at a medal. The world champion there, Ami Omer Dadon. The world record holder, 250.92. Man who's the European champion. Suzuki, meanwhile, 3 medals in his 3 events. World Championship silver, and there is the legend that is Smetanin. He'll be 49 by the time Paris 2024 comes around. I wonder if he will have that opportunity. Longhorn, Torres, Joe, Dadon, Suzuki, Smethanin, Malya, and a scratch from Tubera of Brazil in 8. So reaction time from Torres looked pretty good off the starting blocks. Suzuki a little slow, but once he's in the water, he's really going. And alongside him is Dadon. Jo Gisong of Korea goes in 3. He's really not had the best of games. Not for somebody of his caliber. Although he's finished outside the medals in the 100 free and the 50-meter breaststroke. He's a 3-time Paralympic Games champion and the kind of swimmer who could pop up and surprise. But at the moment, it is going on form. World record holder and home favorite head-to-head.
Yeah, I mean, Dadon, he had the disqualification in the 100-meter freestyle. So you know he's out for revenge in this 200. He's definitely going to want to send a message. Suzuki, though, I mean, Suzuki's having the meat of his life here. I don't know if it's the home crowd. I don't know if he hit his taper well. And he's just doing great.
Definitely. He's shot to prominence. His best performance at the Paralympic Games. And it's come at the age of 34 at Tokyo 2020. Gold in the 100 free, bronze in the 50 breast, was bronze in the 150 IM as well. But yeah, going head-to-head with Dadon. They're coming to the wall at the 100-meter mark, and they really are battling one another stroke for stroke at the moment. You don't want to go too slowly and be in one of the outer lanes. You don't want to go too fast and expend your energy or overswim yourself in the heat.
No, and Suzuki at the turn was actually, he was right with Dadon. He actually pushed out slightly ahead of him, but this is where Dadon, I would expect him to take off. It's this third 50 where he likes to pull ahead and make his mark, and that's exactly what he's doing. But Suzuki, you know, he's trying and he's hanging, he's doing the best he can to just keep up with him right now.
So at the moment, it is Dadon. Yeah, I suspect that 100 free DQ is going to be playing on his mind, especially because he couldn't go on and win the gold in the 150 IM. He might be the European champion and world record holder, but he finished 3rd at the World Championships, and one of the men who beat him is Suzuki Takayuki.
And Dadon, he's actually ahead of world record pace right now, which is surprising for the preliminaries. You know, normally you want to save it up for the finals, but Dadon, he is going for it right now, and Suzuki hanging right there with him.
Well, Dadon is slowly starting to pull away. That is exactly the case. These are two swimmers who are showing that they have plenty of ambition in the pool. You might want to be sending a subtle message to the swimmer alongside them. But this is a fantastic swim from Dadon. But Suzuki, while he was holding on for a little while, he is now falling off the pace as Dadon just opts to streak away here, just outside Paralympic record time in the end of 2:56.66. And Suzuki can just stroke to the wall. Jo Gisong of Korea goes in lane 3, the defending champion from 5 years ago in Rio. Just glides to the wall, touches 3rd fastest ahead of Smethanin, 3:14.09. And coming home, Lyndon Longhorn going in lane 1, and Javier Torres of Spain touch now, while Ariel Malya, the brother of Mark Malya, the multiple gold medalist at these games, he goes in lane 7 and touches now. So his compatriot, Dadon, looking to add to Israel's impressive swimming medal tally.
And here they are coming off the start. You see Dadon, he goes out early and he sets a very commanding place. And Suzuki, he really hung with him during this first 50. Dadon, he went out fast. Dadon has struggles on the walls, and Suzuki, he's able to make up a lot of ground there. And then they come into the second 100, and Suzuki, he's still right there with Dadon. But it's really during the third 50 where Dadon made his move as he turned. He struggled a little bit on the wall there, as is typical for him, but then he came home very strong. And he put up a 2:56, which is an excellent swim for Dadon in the morning. I definitely think he's going to challenge his world record tonight.
I have no doubt. Omar Dadouan goes in lane 4 for the evening session, but 2:56.66 as he qualifies quickest. Compatriot Ariel Malia, twin brother of Mark Malia, multiple champion here, finishes outside the medal. Smetinin should sneak into the final. 3:14 is good enough for him to sneak into the final alongside the defending champion, Jo Gi-sung of Korea. 2012 champion Sanchez goes as well. So to the youngster, Camacho. But Dadon and Suzuki, that should be an entertaining battle.
Definitely.
To the men's 50-meter butterfly S6 heats. Nelson Crispin of Colombia will be among the swimmers to watch. Already gold in the men's 200 individual medley and silver in the men's 100-meter breaststroke in heartbreaking fashion. Missed out at the wall by a fingernail. Chu Ching with the world record, 29.89. To go sub-31 in the preliminaries will be a really good swim from anyone. In the morning classifications, there is the Colombian from Bucaramanga in Colombia. Another one to watch is the very dangerous Jia Hongguang. He's readying himself this morning. He picked up gold in the mixed 4x50 freestyle relay, 20 points to Jia Hongguang. And bronze in the 200 IM. These two going head to head. One length of the pool. So straight out the sprint here. Kostaki, Shatta, Granitska, Crispin, Salim Geriev, Gia Komarov and Bergino. It's looking really good in this fly stroke. He's a man who dominates this event in the individual medley, but going strong in 6 is Jia Hongguang, but Crispin is showing a real aptitude for the stroke yet again. Jia Hongguang trying to hold on to the lead, but it looks like Crispin is coming back fast here. Granichka is looking well off the pace for a man that was expected to challenge, but going in 4, Crispin is not going to disappoint. He touches ahead of Jia. Well, a chance for Kazakhstan's Yerzhan Salimgeriev to touch 3rd quickest ahead of Granichka. 31.66, that's about what we expected.
Yeah, I mean, that was a solid swim from Crispin Corzo, and also a decent swim from Jia Hongguang that should put them in place for the final tonight. And right off the blocks, I mean, as expected, Jia Hongguang, he goes out early, such an effective underwater kick. But what Crispin Corzo does nicely here is that he doesn't panic and he really swims his own race. Even though he doesn't have the underwater to match Jia Hongguang, what he does do is he finishes so well as he just comes right in. He passes Jia Hongguang, and 31.66 again, good time for him this morning.
Looking for his 3rd medal of these games is Nelson Crispin. Jia Hongguang is 2nd. Salim Geriev of Kazakhstan touches ahead of Zach Shattuck. Second heat features Wang Qinggang and Laurent Chardin of France. Laurent Chardin. Now there is a man to watch in Wang Qinggang. But alongside him, going in lane 5, is a man who shot to prominence following a shark attack while bodyboarding on the French island territory of Réunion off the coast of Africa. Chardin, incidentally, the Frenchman, who is right on the very left of your screen for a moment. There is Xiaodao. He turns 26 today. And that right arm, big surfer and a bodyboarder. Technical officials here are having a discussion. This is holding up the start of this race, and I wonder if it has something to do with the previous heat. We might be looking at a disqualification from the previous heat. The officials continue to discuss. We're still awaiting the official results while Crispin touched first ahead of Jia Hongwang, and then Salim Geriev touched third quickest. We are going to seemingly have a decision that has been made now. So the second heat will not get underway until the results are confirmed. In the end, no disqualifications, it seems, and official results are confirmed as Crispin ahead of Jia, ahead of Salim Geriev. So, to the second heat we go. Wang Jingang. Big sea time, the only sub-31 second swimmer this year. Although Crispin's gone 31.01. And Xiaodao on his 26th birthday, going in lane 5, looking for a place in the final. Tellison Glock of Brazil among those who's really good over this distance. All-out sprint. It's a good start from Matheus de Andrade of Argentina going in 1, but the underwater of Wang and Sanchez is impressive. Wang taking himself out in front. Wonderful advantage that he's gained using that streamline underwater. Xiaodao going strong in lane 5 as well, but it looks to be Sanchez of Spain who is really challenging for that second spot at the moment behind Wang Jingang of China, who's going to touch and under 31 seconds, a 30.81, the fastest time in the world this year. He touches ahead of Sanchez, with Xiaodao of France third quickest. Wang Jingang, very little challenge, and off the starter's blocks quickly. Used his underwater so well. Sanchez 32.45.
And there's Wang just taking it right off the blocks. And I agree, he does use his underwater so well, as is typical of the Chinese team, especially in this class and in the S5 classification. But really what makes Wang stand out is that he doesn't appear to fade at the end, where sometimes the Chinese swimmers, their legs, they start to give out. What Wang does is he stays strong. The question tonight, though, is that Wang, who's going to, again, have that powerful start, if he can hold off the charge from Crispin Corzo at the end. That is going to be tight.
So Wang Jingang ahead of David Sanchez, with Laurent Xiaodao of France third. Gabriel Melon looking for a place in the final. Wang qualifying quickest ahead of Nelson Crispin. Jia Hongwang third fastest. China for a chance of a 1-2 on the podium, or at least 2 medals. Xiaodao will go searching for a medal. To the first heat of the women's 50-meter butterfly S6. Ellie Robinson is the Paralympic record holder. On her 20th birthday. Ellie Robinson goes off very nicely, celebrating a birthday today. The girl in the big coat who went on to win the 2016 50 fly S6, and now here she is. Great reaction time off the starter's blocks and straight into her stroke, and looking to to put a little pressure on Elizabeth Marks, but Marks on her outside is showing no signs of letting up after taking a little bit of a lead off the top here. This is a big swim from Marks. Not a world record pace, but this is going to be a very good touch for the swimmer who touches first in 36.84, ahead of Robinson 37.24, and third Liu Daomin of China. There is Ellie Robinson.
Ellie Robinson, she got off to a great start, and Elizabeth Marks was actually slow, but Elizabeth Marks, her wingspan and her pull in the fly really allows her to take control of the race as she pulls ahead of Ellie Robinson. And here you can see this beautiful stroke from Elizabeth Marks. She suffers vision loss, which is why she has, during the race, which is why she has the tapper right at the end. And a great swim from Elizabeth Marks, not a great swim though from Ellie Robinson, so she'll definitely be looking to go faster.
Certainly, Ellie Robinson will be looking to go faster. Somebody who's a 35-second swimmer going 37.24. Elizabeth Marks, 36.84. Liu Daomin, 38.98. To the second heat we go. Zhang Yuyan of China goes in 4. Nicole Turner going for Ireland in lane 5 is Nicole Turner, who at 19 is still relatively young, but was youngest competitor for the entire Irish Paralympic team in Rio 5 years ago. But going so strong at the moment is Zhang Yuyan. Great power. Watch out for Verena Schott of Germany. She is having a spectacular competition at Tokyo 2020. Might be looking to touch third here, but right about on world record pace is the Chinese swimmer Zhang, going in lane 4, trying to come to the wall in world record time. Can she do it here? Just 16 years old, and she has smashed the world record already in the heats, touching ahead of Turner. Vargas Blanco manages to out-touch Verena Schott at the wall, but having finished 4th and outside the medals in the women's 50 freestyle, what a swim for the 16-year-old from China. We know she's quick, certainly having won the World Championships, but this is an additional element of speed here for the Chinese star.
And here, Zhang, she's not the fastest one off the block. And because she's only able to use her left arm and her left leg, she doesn't have that powerful kick the whole time the way we're used to with some of the other swimmers. But what she does do so effectively is use that left arm, and she keeps up a very fast stroke rate throughout the whole thing. She just took control of this race as soon as she popped up from her underwater.
A fantastic swim from Zhang Yuyan. Zhang Yuyan confirmed as winner in world record time at 34.56. That is brilliant as she betters her own world record. The Asian Para Games and world champion in this event. Confirming the results, 34.56 from Zhang of China, ahead of Nicole Turner, 36.54. Verena Schott coming in 38.16. Savtseva might just have got her place in the final. Only just, as she goes sub 40 seconds, which means she edges out Anna Hontara, who went in the first heat. But Elizabeth Marks and Ellie Robinson going alongside Turner and Zhang of China for the final.
It's going to be a big battle for second and third tonight.
To the first here we go of the men's 50-meter backstroke S5. Hinata of Japan will be among the favorites to contest for the gold, silver or bronze, but Zheng Tao is the world record holder, and he will go in the second. It's his compatriots, Wang Liqiao. 2 silver medals already for Wang Liqiao at these championships, and Ruan Jin-song going alongside one another in 4 and 5. Kubasov, Hinata, Plotnikov, Wang, Ruan, Ponce, and Karimi. Now this is going to be a little bit of a battle here for the minor placings, I would imagine. Plotnikov is quick, but he's not quite Wang Liqiao quick at the moment. And straight into his stroke. Ruan Jin-song looking really good with the powerful use of the arms from the Chinese swimmer. And great power from the legs by Wang, but Ruan is absolutely scorching as he goes through. Paralympic record. That'll be a good touch for Wang, but a Paralympic record here for Ruan Jin-song. This is his favorite event. Only entered into 2 events, the man from Kunming. And one of them he finished outside the medals, the men's 100-meter breaststroke. This is his second event, but his favorite event. And that looks to be a very good result for the 24-year-old. Paralympic record in the heats.
And you look at Wang, who uses the towel in his mouth to start. It allows him to really spring backwards and make the most out of his underwater. But here, surprisingly, Ruan, he just came out of nowhere on this. He flew past Wang, because he's able to use his arms here. As Wang's legs started to die and to fade a little bit, Ruan, he just went right past him, and he took the lead, and he didn't appear to fade at all, and went into the finish. 33.27. That was a big swim on his end, major PB.
So Ruan Jin-song, 33.27 Paralympic record ahead of Wang Ponce. And now the legend that is Daniel Diaz has just seen his Paralympic record go, and the world record holder Zheng Tao. How will Zheng Tao swim in this? He's finally broken that duck of winning a gold medal outside of the 100-meter backstroke event. But Zheng Tao is the world record holder, and there's Daniel Diaz. 27 medals in his Paralympic Games career for Daniel Diaz, who has announced he will retire at the end of these games. He's just lost his Paralympic record. And this is going to be, I don't want to say a foregone conclusion, because Zheng Tao has had his fair share of bad luck at games. And as he was at Rio with a back injury, he's had stomach flu affect him in London. He has had all sorts of concerns on the days when he's been swimming finals. So 1, 2, 3. Zheng Tao. Multiple champion in the 100 backstroke. He won it in London, and he won it in Rio. Chance here. Watch out for Semenenko as well alongside him, going in 5. Daliev, Vo, Diaz, Chung, Semenenko, Mullen, Erolu, and Chernyaev. Just struggling with the towel, it seems. Zheng Tao. So asking the competitors just to hold in the water for a moment or relax. Competitors without arms will often start with a towel in the mouth. Ian Semenenko and Daliev of Kazakhstan going in 1.
Take your marks.
Erolu as well, using the strap with a gum guard on the end, but a start for Daniel Diaz. He is trying to get into the stroke with Cheng Tao looking good from his underwater, but Semenenko got off to a splendid underwater. That streamline was outstanding, and he's using his body so well. A rocking of the body. The head is bobbing though. Cheng Tao is a lot more stable in the water, and his head in a far better place. Keeps looking over. Cheng Tao is not looking quite the formidable character that he was earlier in the pool. As Semenenko comes to the wall first, Cheng Tao touches just ahead of Daniel Diaz. Will be looking to add to his 27 Paralympic medals already. But Cheng Tao, after victories in the 50 fly and in the 4x50 freestyle relay, Yaroslav Semenenko is the swimmer who is completely swum away with this. Semenenko finished third in the Rio final behind eventual champion Cheng Tao.
And you see Cheng Tao off the start, he was way later going in. You have to wonder how much the back and forth at the starting block affected him. And here's Cheng Tao. He actually goes back and forth between this underwater fly kick and a standard backstroke kick all the way throughout. He actually peeks over to Semenenko from time to time. That just wasn't the performance from Cheng Tao that we would typically expect.
Certainly not. There is Yaroslav Semenenko. He has been a perennial contender at the Games, but only once has he ever been on the podium. Maybe a chance here. He got a bronze in Rio in the 100 back. Chance perhaps to win the 50 back. Semenenko ahead of Cheng Tao, with Daniel Diaz touching third quickest. Andrew Mullen of Great Britain will advance. He goes sub 38. Ran Ching Song qualifies quickest in Paralympic record time, ahead of Yaroslav Semenenko, winner of the second heat. And then Wang Liqiao and Cheng Tao, who will be searching for a Chinese lockout of the podium. Daniel Diaz will go in search of medal number 28. Plotnikov, Mullen and Ponte into the final. So the women's 50-meter backstroke, S5. Now this is an event that the likes of Sumaya Boyachi and Sevile Osterk will be looking to medal in. Another one of the events that Zhang Li goes in, but world record held by Ukrainian Natalia Ziani. Set in Eindhoven now some 11 years ago already. Kravchenko, Chavel, Narita, Boyachi, Osterk, Hernandez and Chang. Looking for the early advantage with the use of the underwater. Sumaya Boyachi and Sevile Osterk are pushing hard towards the wall. Good starts from both the Turkish swimmers, both swimming without arms but knowing how to propel their bodies through the water using their legs. Real driving power from Sevile Osterk. She's the young protagonist. 17-year-old up against the 18-year-old Sumaya Boyachi. Not much separating them age-wise, not much separating them in the water as well. Osterk, battle as she might, is not going to catch Boyachi here, who is going to come to the wall quickest and touch in 43.28. As Osterk goes 44.16. As Narita looks to touch third, but is edged out by Chang Li, with Narita touching a 49.72 for Japan. That is a very good swim from Sumaya Boyachi and Sevile Osterk. They'll be happy with those times, and they'll be happy with a 1-2 for Turkey.
Yeah, both of the Turkish swimmers, they got off to a great start. They spent a lot of time underwater. They really maximized the most of that underwater using that fly kick on their back, and they pop up and they don't see the lead at all. You know, sometimes with this backstroke kick, the swimmers, their legs can start to tire out and they fade towards the end of the 50. But these two Turkish swimmers, they don't appear to do so. Where the challenge is going to come tonight, though, is where they face Lu Dong from China. We're going to see in this next heat.
Well, it's going to be a big battle. Teresa Perales, just for sake of competition, got to throw her name in the mix. Sumaya Boyachi ahead of Sevilla Öztürk, Zhang Li, and Narita Mayumi might be swimming in another final for Japan. So Teresa Perales, the legend, goes in lane 3. Lu Dong of China goes in 4, and Monica Bugione of Italy goes in 5. Teresa Perales has been a little out of sorts. Now, Susanna Hext of Great Britain has scratched from the race. That is Lu Dong, who should be the one to beat. Chiretti, Perales, Lu, Bugione, Cheng, Noriega. And Lu Dong, that's a good reaction time, and she'll use that underwater really well. She's well over a body length ahead when she breaks water just before the 15-meter mark, and now goes into a big, strong push towards the 25-meter mark. She's not quite on world record pace here, is Lu Dong, but the 29-year-old has been around for a while. She's picked up a relay medal. She won the women's 50 fly. And while she was out of the medals and completely out of sorts in the women's 100 freestyle, this is an event she is expected to dominate, and indeed she's going to come to the wall. Paralympic record time, 40 seconds on the dot, as Perales comes to the wall, second fastest at 45.98, and Bugione 46.10. That's a great confidence boost for Lu Dong. So far ahead of anybody else across the heats. The 100 backstroke champion she was in London 9 years ago. She's swimming the kind of times, though, that could see her challenge for the world record in the final. Still a little way off at 40 seconds, but a little push required. And maybe.
I mean, I know we always focus on it, but the start of the Chinese swimmers, they've got this nailed to perfection. I mean, Lu Dong, by the time she pops up, she is over a body length ahead of the rest of the field. And for these swimmers, the key, if they're entirely on their legs, is to keep it going and not tire out. Because where they start to, you know, fade a little bit, and if they do fade, then they become vulnerable to the charge by those swimmers that are able to use their arms as they approach the wall. So for Lu Dong, she needs to be able to hang on.
Lu Perales,
I don't think she's really going to be. Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
I don't really think she's going to be challenged.
It's going to be some ask for world champion Sumaya Boyachi to try to challenge her. Lu Dong ahead of Sevilla Öztürk and Sumaya Boyachi, both of Turkey. Perales, Bugione, Cheng Jiao and Zhang Li, neither their strongest events, but Lu Dong absolutely in her best event. She's a 50 and 100 backstroker, and this should be one where she'd be challenging for the gold medal. So they advance to the final. And now to the men's 200-meter individual medley, SM11, a host of events now for athletes with vision impairment. We have the men's and women's 200 individual medley, and then the men's and women's 200-meter individual medley, SM11 and then SM13. Starting off with the SM11s, Mikhailo Serban gets an opportunity to go again. Kimura Keiichi of Japan will go in lane 4. The world record holder in Roger Dorsman will go in lane 4 in the second heat, alongside the Paralympic record holder, Yang Hozun. That's Viktor Smirnov You saw for just a moment, that's young Mikhailo Serbin. Smirnov was the 100 backstroke silver medalist behind Serbin, who won the 100 backstroke. Well, 35 years young is Smirnov, a 6-time Paralympic Games gold medalist with over a dozen Paralympic Games medals. Menezes of Portugal goes in lane 7. So Grigory Zuzilao of Belarus is scratched, but Artichok, Gunnarsson, Serbin, Kimura, Smirnov and Menezes. And that's a fantastic underwater from Kimura Keiichi. Look at the incredible power that he has as he gets off in one of his favorite strokes. So this is the men's 200-meter individual medley, SM11. This is for swimmers who will swim completely blind. Even if they are not completely blind, they will find themselves heading to the wall and have tappers tap them, because each of the swimmers swims without swims with blackened goggles, even if they are so completely unsighted in the pool. All swimmers have the tappers. But medley event, fly, back, breast, free.
Yeah, and Kimura, that fly, what a great fly. And then in the backstroke, you know, when he started off, he was actually hugging the lane line, but now he's starting to go diagonal to the other side. He's going to need to get himself a little bit straighter if he wants to do well. You know, Kimura, he actually moved to the United States to train with the coach of Brad Snyder. Brad Snyder was also in this classification and a multiple gold medalist. In Tokyo, he's actually competing in the para-triathlon, and I believe he's already won a gold medal. And so, you know, Kimura, I expect big things out of him. He's got that experience. He went to the US, he trained with a new coach. He's well prepared for this race.
And Kimura is showing it as well, but it's the Ukrainians who flank him on either side. Mikhailo Serbin of Ukraine going in 3 and Viktor Smirnov going in 5. It's the young and the old generation. Smirnov just trying to stay alongside that lane rope as well. And this is a tactic used by the vision-impaired swimmers, often to hug a lane rope on either side, sometimes further away from where their opponents are, but they prefer to have a little freedom either side of them. And the easiest way to do that is to pull out in front, I suppose. But Kimura, while he was leading by some advantage at the 100 mark, he's only half a second ahead of Smirnov at the 150 mark.
And Kimura, now he's starting to pull away in the freestyle, though still swimming diagonally into that lane line. But then you see when he swims diagonally, then he goes over to the right side, and now he's hugging the lane. It's actually possible that he was able to feel Smirnov's wake a little bit when he turned, so he knew that swimmers were there. You know, some of these blind swimmers, they do have heightened senses, so it's possible that he was able to feel some of Smirnov's water.
Coming to the wall first, Kimura touches ahead of Smirnov, with Serbin touching third quickest overall. Smirnov, bear in mind, last time he won the gold in this event was in Athens in 2004. That's 17 years ago. Kimura Keiichi, though, he looks good for a big result here. 2:32 for Kimura. It's around the times that he and Serbin have been going over the past year or so.
Great off the blocks from Kimura there, and he goes into that fly. His fly leg was so powerful, and this leg, he does go very straight. It's in the backstroke where he starts to veer. Here you see him going into that lane line, but what he does is very smart. Even though he goes into the lane line, afterwards he uses the lane to correct himself. So he goes diagonal, he hits the lane, realizes that he's gone diagonal, and then he uses the lane to keep himself straight. And in the breaststroke, these two swimmers, they're very close, and then they turn and go into the freestyle. Kimura again goes a bit diagonal, but then he straightens himself and finishes the freestyle very strong. He went 2:32, so he's well off of his C time, so you know that he has a lot less for the finals.
Somebody who can go 2:26, no concern for Kimura Keiichi. ahead of Viktor Smirnov and Mikhailo Serbin of Ukraine. Mark Gunnarsson with a 2:39.63. It should be safe enough to get him into the final. The Icelandic swimmer. There's young Serbin. Just goggles checks amongst the formalities come the end of the race. Kimura Keiichi, 30 years old, but looking in the form of his life at the moment. Fourth in Rio, how desperately he would love to get into the medals in front of his home crowd. No official results as yet, but the Kimura victory should stand. Men's 200 IM SM11 second heat. We'll see the world record holder in Rogier Dorsman going for Netherlands in 4. Tomita Uchu of Japan, a perennial contender against Dorsman, will be going in lane 5. So this should be a good battle between the two. But Dev, I'm going to ask you, his turns have been horrific in certain instances. There's nothing to describe them any other way, but how do you miss the wall twice in an event?
You know, it could be a host of things, but in order to get the turn right in this classification, because, you know, you're using the blackened goggles, the timing of the tap has to be right, but it also has to align with your stroke count. So in a meet like this, if a swimmer gets nervous and his stroke count is off, or he's shortening up, he's tightening, it's possible that the timing is just, it's a little bit off. And if I were Dorsman, I would have been in the pool practicing for like half an hour, just turns before this race.
So the world record holder Dorsman goes in 4. The Paralympic record holder Yang Bozun goes in 6. And Tomita of Japan will be one to watch out for. Yang Bozun, not much of an underwater this time for the legend. Having already won the men's 100-meter backstroke bronze, Yang Bozun still around, and 15 Paralympic Games medals later, still competing. Dorsman looking good to start this IM. A little tap goes to the wall now, but behind Tomita, the two of them side by side, so up against the lane rope here for Dorsman and Tomita, both using it just as a guide to take them forward. Yang Bozun a little off the pace, touched 5th at the wall at the opening 50.
But this is really where you see Dorsman making his move. I mean, even though he was out of the medal count in the 100-meter backstroke because of that turn, he still came back in a very fast time. His backstroke is definitely one of his best, if not the best stroke for him. And so if he can just keep the turns right here, he definitely has a chance of winning this. And you can see him gliding into these walls right now. He's being safe.
He is going for the safe approach. The gold medalist in the 400 free, despite missing a turn. And a costly miss of the turn in the men's 100-meter backstroke, where he had to go back to the wall, swim back to the wall, make the touch, and then go. Still swam a time that would have been competitive, just outside the medals. But Dorsman is absolutely pulling away here. But Yang Bozun in the breaststroke has made up a huge amount of ground on Tomita, and at the moment is looking to be in second position behind Dorsman as Tomita holds on, with Hua Dongdong of China going in 7, a long way off.
What a beautiful breaststroke from Dorsman. You saw the freestyle. He went right into the right side of the lane there, but now he's hugging that lane line and using it as a guide to help him stay straight during this last leg. He appears to be on cruise control. He's not really going all out. The kick isn't particularly strong, but he's still right on the world record time. I mean, he's doing great.
Rogier Dorsman has had his fair share of disappointment here, but he is going to come to the wall in a very fast time, a Paralympic record, 2:20.75 seconds from the Dutch swimmer, as he takes the Paralympic record in his first Paralympic Games, touches ahead of Yang Bozun with Tomita Uchu. Third quickest overall, 2:20.75 for Dorsman. That's a little way off the the world record, 220.4. But not far off at all. Paralympic record time. That'll be a good positive for him, particularly with the safe turns.
And he had a great start coming into the butterfly right here. This is exactly the swim that Dorsman needed, really, to boost his confidence after that 100-meter backstroke. Here, the tap, it's aligned right. Dorsman, he glides into the wall, so he's being careful on the walls. He does not want, you know, a misturn to happen again. It's this breaststroke where he just really took, well, it was the backstroke first, but then the breaststroke is really where he's extended his lead. And then he comes into the wall on the freestyle. He was just, you know, a hair off of the world record, and you see him glide into this wall. If he times these finishes a little bit better, he's very happy about that. But I definitely think that world record's going down tonight.
I suspect he's going to be going for a 2:18 in the pool. 2:19 will do nicely, but the world record holder of Netherlands ahead of Yang Bo-sun of China, and that's Tomita Uchu of Japan. Dorsman, this is somebody who practices thousands and thousands of turns a week and has still missed 2 at these championships. He's swimming in the vision impairment classification. 2:20.75 for Dorsman in Paralympic record time. That's the fastest of the qualifiers for the final. And Dorsman ahead of Yang Bo-sun. Maybe a chance of a 16th Paralympic Games medal for Yang. Tomita Uchu should advance comfortably. 2 Japanese contenders for medals then in Kimura Keiichi and Tomita Uchu. 2 Ukrainian swimmers in Smirnov and Serbin. Pereira and Gunnarsson sneak in, but it's Dorsman and Yang who qualify quickest. This is the women's 200-meter individual medley. First heat of 2. Ma Jia, fresh from a world record in a reswum event. The women's 50 free final. She'll go in lane 4. Marina Podobna of Ukraine in 5. Podobna off to a really good start. She generally gets off to those solid starts. McLean Hermes as well of the United States, a solid start in 7, but unable to make use of her quick reaction time and get herself into a good position up front. Ma Jia pulling away, and after that 50 freestyle gold in spectacular world record time, Ma Jia will be, you suspect, in the form of her life.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing I can say heading into this race is watch out for that world record. I think Ma Jia has it right on the forefront of her mind. I think it may go down during this preliminary swim. She's already out very quickly. Remember, in that 50 freestyle, she broke the world record multiple times. Then they had to do a swim off, and she broke it again. So she, you know, she had something to prove there. So her confidence is riding high. And in this backstroke already, she's hugging that lane line. She's staying very straight to the extent that she can. She just looks very smooth, very in control right now. And it's just a preliminary swim.
Just. Here's Jia coming in ahead of Wang Xinyi of China on her outside. At the moment, the battle for third between Tkachuk of Ukraine and Podobna, her compatriot. So, Ma Jia over Wang Xinyi.
And Ma Jia, she's out way by herself. She's got clean water on both sides as she heads into this breaststroke. And she looks very calm, very controlled right now. I mean, there's no one that's even close to her as she heads into the freestyle, and we know what a strong freestyle leg she has.
So a little turn and go from Ma Jia very quickly at the turns. Podobna is challenging for third at the moment alongside Tkachuk.
And Madhya is going to smash the world record during this preliminary swim.
I'm
She's
just looking at the times.
way ahead.
2:05.16 she touches. The world record sitting at 2:46. Just trying to work out the splits here, but let's say she's well ahead of world record time. Going at the 25-meter mark. She will be pushing for a big victory. Just a little easier in the closing stages. So it might just be outside of world record time, which also happens to be around about Paralympic record time. She comes home just outside of it, not far off it, at 2:47. That's a relatively relaxed back end from Madhya. Wang Xinyi touches second fastest overall. And third home should be Podobna of Ukraine. So a good, easy run home. In the final, though, you know that the 53 is arguably her best event.
Yeah, I
so
mean,
she might make that count. I mean, she came home really slowly in this event. And maybe because she knew in the preliminaries that she had a little bit of time to play with, and maybe a little exhaustion. Outside 32 seconds to come home when she goes 29:20. That said, different with the starters blocks and underwaters.
and here's Madhya. I mean, she took out that fly. She was going very strong in the fly right here. She had a beautiful first leg. She had already established herself as way ahead of the rest of the pack. She was even going very nicely during this breaststroke. She just extended the lead, and look how straight she is. I mean, that is remarkable. She's not even hugging the lane line here, and she's still managing to stay straight. It was in the freestyle where she went into the lane, but then afterwards, she used the lane to correct herself. But in the freestyle, she really just, it was like she just turned it off. She lost a lot of her gas. She was ahead of world record pace, and then she just turned it off. So you wonder what Madhya plans on doing tonight.
If she gets that right, I suspect big letters, capital letters, WR will be appearing alongside her name and time. Madhya in great form, still victorious despite a moment against the lane rope. 2:47.48, quick qualifying time. Wang Xinyi and Marina Podobna finished second and third. Alcazar of Mexico should fancy a spot in the final. To the second heat of two we go in the women's 200-meter individual medley SM11. Nadia Baez of Argentina, Martina Rabolini, Tsai Li Wen, Lisette Bruinsma, Anastasia Pagonis. That's where a very interesting battle should ensue, particularly between Bruinsma and Pagonis. But from lane one, that's Argentine Baez alongside Rabolini. There's Tsai Li Wen. Tsai Li Wen, already a champion in the women's 100 back, but the world record holder is Lisette Bruinsma. She goes for Netherlands in lane 4. And Anastasia Pagonis. 5 American records fell at the trials for Anastasia Pagonis. There's Rabolini of Italy. In the outer lanes, Bereshna of Ukraine and Shevchenko RPC closest to your screen. Baez, Rabolini, Tsai, Bruinsma, Pagonis, Bereshna and Shevchenko. Bruinsma off to that clinical start, explodes off the blocks, and Tsai Li Wen is off to her traditionally fast start as well, looking to get in a big fly and backstroke leg, which is where she's arguably strongest.
Yeah, but right now, Pagonis is actually going very well, and she's ahead of Bruinsma, and she's starting to beat Tsai Li Wen. Oh, she's actually ahead of her right now as she goes into the backstroke leg, so Pagonis looking great.
Pagonis looking really solid at the moment. She's cracked all sorts of records as the 17-year-old from the United States who made things count in the US trials, but up against the likes of Lisette Bruinsma here, who won the event in recent years. Dominated the event in recent years, the world record holder.
But Brensma right now, she's actually sitting in 4th in the second heat of the preliminaries. Pagonis extending her lead during the backstroke. And look at this. She's not even next to the lane. She's to the side of it. She's not even using the lane to guide her. She's going straight all on her own. That is remarkable if you have nothing to mark against.
So Brensma will make up a fair amount of time in the breaststroke, you imagine, but Brensma coming to the wall now is well down on her time and on her world record time. It is Brensma going into the breaststroke, but Tsai Lee Wen is battling Pagonis in that breaststroke leg. Tsai Lee Wen's breaststroke should be better and will make up some ground on Pagonis, who's leading, and Brensma will make up ground on both of them in the breaststroke. It might come down to all touching at a similar time at the wall. Yana Berezhna of Ukraine is going nicely in 6th as well, as she's making up ground on those ahead of her. The Brensma is looking like she's going to fly past Pagonis here.
Yeah, I mean, Pagonis, breaststroke, definitely a weak stroke for her. She's lost a lot of ground. Tsai Lee Wen way out ahead now.
So the defending champion Brensma and world champion is Brensma, and world record holder as well. She's facing a bit of a battle here against Tsai Lee Wen, and indeed a battle against Anastasia Pagonis as well. It's not been the championships for the 20-year-old Dutch swimmer from Snake.
No, and then up Tsai Lee Wen into the lane line. And now Pagonis starting to move up on her in the freestyle. Pagonis, she's swimming a very straight last 50 meters, and she's taken it from Tsai Lee Wen, and Brensma starting to come up.
So Pagonis is going to come to the wall here first, and Anastasia Pagonis comes to touch in 2:48.45, 2:50 for both Brensma and Tsai Lee Wen as they touch 2nd and 3rd. But Anastasia Pagonis, a 17-year-old born and raised in Long Island. That's a good victory. Love the fingernails. And somebody who is undoubtedly a social media star as well, Anastasia Pagonis. Already a champion at these games, just 17 years old, gold in the 400 free. Brensma a long way off her world record.
Right off the start, I mean, Tsai Lee Wen, Brensma, both of whom had great starts, but it was Pagonis who went out to the early lead in the fly. And you see Brensma right here. She had a solid fly, but she started to fall back, especially in that backstroke where Pagonis, she took the lead. But where Pagonis struggled was on this breaststroke right here. This is definitely her weakest stroke. But then she came back very hard in the freestyle. We knew she had a good freestyle after she killed the world record in the 400-meter freestyle.
So Pagonis on form and looking good to challenge for a world record and a 2nd gold of the games if she can hold on to that sort of form. She claims the 2nd heat ahead of Tsai Lee Wen and Lisette Brensma 3rd overall. So to the finals go Magia, Anastasia Pagonis, Tsai Lee Wen, Lisette Brensma, Wang Xinyi, Shevchenko, Pidubna, and Rabolini scraped into the final at 3:02.85. But the top 4, any one of them could win gold. On to the women's 100-meter freestyle S3 now. So the S3, we have different classes. Elif Eldem is an S1 swimmer, the Turkish swimmer right at the bottom of the graphic. And right at the top is Angela Procida, the Italian S2 swimmer. The rest are all S3 swimmers, so 3 different classes represented in this women's 100-meter freestyle S3. Leanne Smith on paper is the quickest and has the fastest seed time of the swimmers in this first heat, 1:31. But she has looked out of sorts completely at these championships. World record holder, still Zulfia Gabadulina of Kazakhstan. That's at least for the S3 classification. There is the American, Leanne Smith. Ildem is an S1 swimmer. She has the most severe of the physical impairments. Now, bear in mind the classification numbers. The prefix S, SB, SM refer to the stroke that is being swum. And then the number from 1 to 10 for physical impairments, with 1 being the most severe, 10 the least. Ildem is an S1 swimmer. She might be going for personal best time here. We'll be looking at outside the 3-minute mark for Elif Ildem of Turkey. Similarly for Procida, if she can go sub 2:39, sub 2:40, she'll be rather happy with her time going in lane 1. For the rest, S3 swimmers, they are going to be trying to go around about the, well, anything below about 1:50 will be a good time. But Leanne Smith looking good in the early stages of this, despite the fact that across the championship she has not.
Yeah, I mean, right now she's out with a very early lead. And one thing to note about her stroke is even though it's only the right arm that's coming out of the water, she is pulling with the left arm underneath. You can't quite see that from this angle, but what she's doing underwater is she's still, here it is, you can see she's still catching water underneath. So she doesn't do the recovery outside of the water, but she's still able to use both arms effectively underneath, and that is helping her during this race.
So Leanne Smith is leading by some way over Yulia Shishova. Yulia Shishova pushing in lane 5 alongside Leanne Smith. Going third overall, it's Zoya Shurkova. And then Brazil's Pereira Barreto going in 6th. But Leanne Smith is having a very comfortable time in the water. And comfortable for Smith. 1:42.01. While Yulia Shishova, bronze medalist in the 50 back, comes home second fastest in this heat. We're going to see Zoya Shurova touch third fastest, ahead of Pereira Barreto of Brazil. Next to come home will be Nikita Entz of Canada, while Angela Procida is having a decent swim for Italy here. To the wall at 2:32. Procida, a personal best of 2:39. She'll get pretty close to that here. Trying to drag to the wall, and she takes it 2:42.37, so just outside, setting a new personal best. And the Canadian Ali Van Wyk Smart touches, but in the S1 classification is the Turkish swimmer who is going in lane 8. She came in with a seed time of 3:18.59. And into the final meters. She's coming to the wall now to try to touch below her time of 3:18, and she's got a 3:17.54. But Leanne Smith is the winner of the opening heat of 2 in the women's 100 freestyle S3.
And just coming off the start right here, you can see Leanne Smith, she goes out to an early lead, and her stroke, she only recovers outside of the water with one arm, but she's able to use both arms effectively underwater, which is, it's a very smart strategy. It's very well trained, and it allows her to really maximize everything that she can, and it makes her so powerful against the rest of the classification. So she went 142. It wasn't a great time for her. Hopefully she's faster tonight, but she was really able to take this heat.
Somebody who's lived and trained at the U.S. Olympic Training Center in Colorado Springs. Leanne Smith, 142.01 ahead of Yulia Shishova. Shurova takes third. Nikita Entz, the top of the two Canadians in the pool on this occasion, the 32-year-old. World Championship finalist in London a couple of years ago. Entz of Canada. To the second heat of two in the women's 100 freestyle S3. And this is where Mexico might be looking for somebody to step up.
Yeah, I mean, you've got 3 Mexicans in this heat, but I do think the real race is going to be between Trimmy and Chalice. Chalice, she had a great swim already. She's already been on the medal stand, and she is a character to watch.
She's a character, undoubtedly, is Chalice. But going alongside Ariola Trimmy. Ariola Trimmy of Italy, again, champion already. She is the favorite, undoubtedly. Now, Ariola Trimmy might be fancying a crack at the world record here. Alongside Trimmy, as we go down the lane, Ramirez Aceves as Patricia Bayer, the 52-year-old, going in lane 3, will be among the swimmers to watch. She's still making finals. She's still putting in decent times. That's Bayer. She was champion of this event in Sydney in 2000. And she successfully defended her title, albeit in a far slower time in Athens, in Greece. But this is certainly going to be a bit of a battle between Chalice in 5 and Trimmy in 4. Trimmy is one that might be capable of going for the world record here, Ariola Trimmy. She finished second as part of the relay squad in the mixed 4x50 freestyle relay, 20 points. And in the women's 50-meter backstroke S3, she picked up a gold medal. And going in lane number 4 is the world champion as well. Already she's creating a fairly commanding lead over Ellie Chalice.
Yeah, I mean, Ariola Trimmy, we've already seen how dominant she is. And right now, because this is the S4 classification, they're able to use arm strokes, but most of the swimmers here don't have use of their legs or trunk. It also includes swimmers like Ellie Chalice, who, you know, they're multiple limb amputees. And what Ellie Chalice does in order to stay up is she's got a much faster stroke rate. So she can't catch as much water in every stroke, but she turns over a lot faster.
Ariola Trimmy, though, is taking it very, very easily by her standards. She's somebody who can go sub 130, no problem in the pool. You get a sense that she's taken a little off this. She recognizes just how far she is ahead of anybody else in the pool. That's going in lane 1, Ramirez of Mexico. Ramirez is among the 3 Mexicans. The 31-year-old going strongly. She already picked up a 100 backstroke medal. Fabiola Ramirez finishing bronze. Comfortably into the final, Ariola Trimmy, a 145.41. And Chalice touches in 153.62. It should be Bayer of Mexico who comes home 3rd quickest, and indeed the 52-year-old is swimming to the wall now to touch 3rd quickest. Lady Viviana Aceves of Mexico, she finished outside the medals in the women's 50 back. And here she comes to the wall, and just on her outside is again, compatriot Fabiola Ramirez, who touches the wall now. So Mexico have 3 in the top 5, 3, 4, and 5. They finish in that order. It's Kirenko of Israel to touch. Last to touch is Veronika Medchainova of RPC, the S2 swimmer. And Fabiola Ramirez, bear in mind, unlike the S3s in the classification, is also an S2 swimmer. But a good win for Trimmy. Plenty left for her. Took it relatively easily by her incredibly high standards and by her times over the past 2 years in this event.
You see how well Ellie Chalice, she gets off the block. She just flies right through, and she goes into that very high turnover. Trimmy, she went out fairly stable. You know, she doesn't have use of her legs, so she's swimming entirely on her arms. She's got that very balanced, very even stroke as she heads into that first turn. But what Trimmy does is she swam this race smart. She went out hard, but then she really just shut it down that second 50. She probably saw Leanne Smith's time during the first heat of 1:42 and knew that the first heat wasn't particularly fast, so she could take it fairly easily during this final. And she did.
She did a 1:45, which will see her comfortably into the final and be in a lane alongside Smith. Fabiola Ramirez, the S2 swimmer. I think she's going to miss out on the final. Leanne Smith advances as quickest, but Ariola Trimmy is possibly the quicker of the two right now at their best. Yulia Shishova, Ellie Chalice, and Shurova, two Mexican swimmers, Inbaye and Aceves, have qualified for the final. And now to the final, the heats of the men's 200-meter individual medley, SM13. Saito Genki of Japan among those to watch, but Alex Portal against Thomas van Wanrooy of Netherlands going in 5. Looking down the line, Maxim Nikiforov of RPC, Saito Genki of Japan. Alongside him is Danilo Chufarov, the Ukrainian. But Alex Portal, the young Frenchman here, who has got his own personal challenge with his roommates in Hugo Didier, both who picked up medals at these games, goes in 4 alongside Thomas van Wanrooy of Netherlands. Germany's Taliso Engel going in 6, and 7 is Nurdaulet Chumagali of Kazakhstan. Iyar Boki, world record, Paralympic record holder and defending champion, who will go in the second heat. Watch out for Portal. How does he go? So Alex Portal is straight into the fly. Bear in mind, 4 lengths of this Olympic-sized pool in each of the strokes. Fly stroke, in which Van Wanrooy and Engel are both looking strong as well. Engel is looking particularly strong going in lane 6. But a long glide to the wall there, touches second outside of Portal, whose stroke seemed to be timed a little better. Into the backstroke they go.
Yeah, and Portal, you know, he had a strong fly, and right now you see him easing right into this backstroke with Engel dropping off. But also hanging in there right now is the Netherlands in lane 5. You know, one of the things I just love about both swimming and watching the individual medley is that you see the different strengths of the swimmers on every single lap. You know, someone could be ahead of the fly and then fade in the backstroke. It's a fun one to watch.
Very much a fun one to watch. A man who was second at the World Championships in London 2 years ago. Alex Portal is leading the way, but not by an enormous margin over Thomas van Wanrooy, the Dutch swimmer, going in 5. Taliso Engel of Germany going in lane 6, but look at these two. Portal further away from your screen, and Van Wanrooy of Netherlands going side by side. Van Wanrooy looks to have the lead at the wall. On the turn, it's Van Wanrooy who is swimming fastest. He was outside the medals at the World Championships, was Van Wanrooy, as he touched 4th in London. But watch Portal, he's got a very strong freestyle. And Van Wanrooy is not letting you catch up, and truth be told, Portal does not need to win this one. But it would be nice, some would say. So it is Van Wanrooy who's going to swim to victory here ahead of Portal. And going in lane 6, Taliso Engel of Germany. So from Van Wanrooy, a victory for the tall Dutch star. Ahead of Alex Portal of France. And Engel with a good 3rd place.
And this is exactly what I mean. I mean, during every single 50, it was like someone else was ahead. You see, Alex Portal, he had a strong 50, but not the strongest 50. It was really Engel who had it at the first turn. And then Alex Portal, you see him right next to the Dutch swimmer. He had a solid backstroke. He really moved himself up there. And this is where Van Wanrooy really started to creep up ahead. And then it was just this freestyle where we had expected Alex Portal at this point to probably be leading, and he came back, but the Dutch was just able to take this preliminary heat in a very good time, 2:11.12. He even took off some time from his seat entry.
So Van Wanrooy is victor of the opening heat of 2 in the men's 200 IM SM13. Alex Portal, 2nd quickest. Taliso Engel, 3rd. Danilo Chufarov finishing 4th fastest. What time is it? Is it Boki time?
It is Boki time.
Yeah, Boki, 4 events, 4 gold medals, a 15-time Paralympic gold medalist. Looking for a gold that'll take him to 16. He has 2 events remaining at Tokyo 2020, all individual. Yeah, Boki. Would you bet against a man who's taken the gold medals so far in the 50 and 400 freestyle, in the 100 backstroke and in the 100 fly? Although breaststroke is a relatively weak, it's by far his weakest stroke and relatively weak by his incredibly high standards. His bad is generally better than most people's good.
It is, and he's already out ahead of others at the 50, although not a huge lead on his end, only 0.2, so only 0.2 ahead of the rest. And as he goes into this backstroke, and backstroke is really, I mean, look at his underwater in comparison to everyone else. He was only 0.2 ahead at the 50 split, but once he pushes off and does his fly kick, he's a body length ahead of the rest of the others.
So 15 Paralympic Games gold medals tells the story in itself. Boki is a class act. His backstroke is seeing him take an advantage here over Garaschenko of Ukraine, one of the few athletes who could challenge him. Now, it's going to be interesting to see how David Abrams, who's a good breaststroker, will do against Boki in the breaststroke, and this might give us an indication here as we get into this leg. So here's David Abrams going to give us a hint of what he might be able to achieve in the 100 breaststroke against Boki, while Garaschenko here in 5 is going along rather well. Watch Abrams. Abrams is out past Garaschenko.
He is, and I mean, looking at this right now, I think Ihar Boki and the 100 breaststroke is going to be challenged. I mean, really challenged.
The 20-year-old who's studying mathematics at Harvard University, like you, Ivy Leaguer.
And here comes the freestyle. Ihar Boki, just a beautiful freestyle on his way home. Now he's out by himself again. No challenge in sight.
No, certainly none from anybody else in the field. It is Ihar Boki who is going to be comfortably coming home in This men's 200-meter individual medley SM13, another event in which he dominates. He has taken it easy the entire way, and he's still outswum everybody in the pool by massive margins. Touching second is Garaschenko, just ahead of Abrams, with Sotnikov and Musabekov fourth and fifth overall. You can say what you like about Iarboki, but his talking is done in the pool. Unbelievable. His results genuinely are unbelievable.
Yeah, and he doesn't really give away much after the end of the race. You can't always tell if he's happy or if he's sad. He's just, what he does is just, he swims well. And here he is on the fly. Look at that underwater. Look at just the shape of his kick as he goes into the butterfly. Very strong on the front end with that fly. And then, again, he was only 2 tenths ahead of everyone else at that first 50. But what he does is he kills them on the backstroke underwater kicking, and then he goes into backstroke. Very good leg for him. His weakest, of course, was the breaststroke, where we do think he's going to get challenged. But right in this 200 IM, he's too powerful on flyback and freestyle to really worry about it. He went 2:08.23, so a decent time from him, 4 seconds off of his C time and 5 seconds off of his world record. So perhaps he will be challenging it tonight.
So Iarboki very comfortably through to the final as the quickest. He is a man in form and ultimately the man to beat in one of his favorite events. Iarboki qualifies quickest ahead of Thomas van der Rooij. Alex Portal of France should be a medal shout. He's already a bronze medalist at these games in the 400 free. Garaschenko, Abrams and Taliso Engel might be challenging for some of the minor medals. Now time for the heats of the women's 200-meter individual medley. Final event of the morning in the preliminaries. And there is Daria Pikalova, who'll be going in lane 4 alongside her. So Sanemon Toshpulatova will go in lane 4. World record time belonging to another Uzbekistan swimmer in Fotimahon Amilova. Stitsenko, Toshpulatova, Pikalova, Mirzokhidova, and Zuzila of Belarus going in lane 7. So Pikalova has not got off to a splendid start, but she's not yet into her strongest stroke. Toshpulatova is looking really good, and so too is fellow Uzbek in Mirzokhidova. At the moment, it is Toshpulatova who is pulling away.
And right now in this 200 IM, it's S12s and S13s swimming together, so a combination of swimmers with various levels of vision impairment. 13 indicates that they have less vision impairment than the 12, so some of the 12s may also be using tappers.
Turn from Toshpulatova. She's an SM13 swimmer. Alongside her, though, Daria Pukalova, who is an S12 swimmer, is struggling through the backstroke. Anna Stitsenko is also going along decently. Stitsenko, the gold medalist in the 400 free.
And the breaststroke leg of the 200 IM is often, not always, but where you see swimmers have a bit of a weakness. We saw that from Iarboki in the men, but right now Toshbulatova. She's still maintaining that lead though, but sometimes the order of 1, 2, and 3 does start to change if one of the swimmers is weak here.
It's so often the case, the strongest in the fly and strongest in the back will have a big lead. Breaststroke really does separate the swimmers, and then the freestyle is a little more even generally, but this is going to be a comfortable push to the line. And turning first from Uzbekistan by almost 4 seconds is Toshbulatova from Stetsenko.
Yeah, she's really swimming this 200 IM smart. She didn't demonstrate any weakness in any 4 of the strokes right now as she heads into that last 25 meters with a very comfortable lead over the second place swimmer right now.
Toshbulatova, the bronze medalist from 2016, is going to stroke her way to victory here at 2:30.42. She finishes ahead of Stetsenko. And who's going to touch third? Edo might have stood a chance, but instead is 5th overall. But effectively half a second between 3rd and 5th as Zutsilava of Belarus outtouches both Miris and Edo of Spain. Going to the wall now, Daria Pikalova, this S12 swimmer.
So Toshbulatova, she got off the blocks well, and she went out to that early lead in the butterfly. And she had a strong stroke in the fly. She didn't appear to tire at all. And she was already ahead of others at the turn. And then she went into backstroke, and she extended her lead. Look at this backstroke. It's a very clean, a very smooth stroke, minimizing drag, good entry with the fingertips. And she does, and she turns into the breaststroke here. And where some swimmers sometimes struggle a bit on the breaststroke, because breaststroke, it's a different stroke than backstroke and freestyle, obviously, but sometimes swimmers are much weaker in comparison to the other 3. But Toshbulatova, she doesn't give anything away and finishes nicely. 2:30.42, decent swim for her for prelims.
And somebody who was introduced to the pool by her father, who's also worked as a coach. A couple of bronze medals that she picked up at the Paralympic Games in Rio, including a bronze in this event. She tops the heat. In the second heat, Carlotta Gili goes alongside Colleen Young of the United States. Carlotta Gili, a dangerous swimmer and a very good, strong swimmer. First out is the Italian, who's shown her prowess through the strokes and indeed picked up medals in both the 50 and 400 free, the 100 backstroke and the women's 100 fly, which she won. So no surprises to see Carlotta Gili taking an advantage out here.
Yeah, and she's got that pink suit, so it makes her really, the pink suit with the blue cap makes it really easy to spot her in the water, although I don't think anyone would have any trouble right now given how far she is ahead of the rest of the field. And with Gili too, here she comes into the backstroke. She's a good backstroker. She's an excellent flyer. The test for Gili is really the breaststroke.
Colleen Young of the United States going alongside her in 4s, currently lying 2nd, but she's got a decent backstroke up here. Usually only breaststroke and IM specialist, but she does have a good backstroke, does Colleen Young, who actually swum backstroke as well at the Rio Games, although not at the London Games, in which she was a 12-year-old who was the youngest member of the US team who competed at the Paralympic Games in 2012.
And here comes Colleen Young. Look at that breaststroke. She's really starting to move up. She's moved ahead of the swimmer to her left right now, and she's now starting to build up against Carlotta Gili.
So Roshin Nerian, who's had a pretty good swim, is being left behind by the breaststroke specialist in Colleen Young. Born with albinism, legally blind. Swimming really well is Colleen Young. Carlotta Gili, though, seems to be in a class of her own.
Yeah, Colleen Young not able to make up that kind of time against Carlotta Gili, because we know Gili is an excellent freestyler on the way home, so she's not going to be looking to give up any of this, even though it's just a morning swim.
So holding on for third right now is Roisin Nerian of Ireland, but while Colleen Young has managed to get herself into second position, she is not going to catch Gili. Carlotta Gili of Italy is going to romp to the win here, and Colleen Young will take a touch. Is it going to be Nerian or Lukyanenko? It is the Irish swimmer, the 16-year-old from Limerick, who touches. There's Gili. What a haul this would be for Carlotta Gili if she medals. She's entered into 6 events. This is her 5th. In her previous 4, she's got gold, silver, silver, and bronze.
And Gili, she got off the blocks well. You can see her dive in, that pink suit. She comes into the butterfly, and she took an early lead. And she didn't appear to see that lead at all in any of the strokes. We know what a good butterflyer she is. She maintained this lead during the backstroke. And you see it's a very clean stroke again. She comes into the breaststroke. Sometimes swimmers struggle with this, and we did see Colleen Young make a move in the breaststroke, but at that point, Gili was way too far ahead, and she brought it home in the freestyle.
An excellent swim from the Italian, looking for her 5th Paralympic Games medal in 5 events. Carlotta Gili tops the second heat of 2 in the women's 200 IM SM13. Colleen Young, after that superb breaststroke, is 2nd overall, and Roisin Nerian of Ireland, 3rd quickest. Advancing to the final, the 8 fastest swimmers will see Gili ahead of Young. Dosh Bulatova, bronze medalist in 2016, 3rd quickest, and Anna Stutsenko, the 400 free champion, goes in the final in one of the 4 middle lanes. Roisin Nerian into a final, so too Endra Olat of Germany and Zuzilava. Well, that concludes our swimming session number 11. The preliminaries on day 6 of the swimming competition at Tokyo 2020. So a very entertaining preliminary session on day 6 of the swimming competition at Tokyo Aquatic Center. Boki set for a 5th gold medal in 5 events. Gili set for a medal in 5 events out of 5 as well. A couple of picks from this morning. some rivalries to look forward to.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I still think that the men's S9 100-meter backstroke, that's anybody's race between Didier Barlam and Mosgavi, and then also the women's 100-meter backstroke. I'm excited to see what Sophie Pascoe, Ellie Cole, and Marquez Soto do tonight.
That is going to be very entertaining right down to the very end. The 12th session will follow. It is the final session on day 6 of the swimming competition. But with all the preliminaries complete and the finalists confirmed, we look forward to the finals event, which will see swimmers challenge for a host of medals at the Tokyo Aquatic Center.